is not trying to capture the low and trying to play this huge swing all the way up here throughout the day. I'm not interested in that. As a scalp trade, I'm interested in what happens here that enables me to play this. There's your point to point, the move down here back to the previous lows. That's all I'm interested in. The reason that I'm interested in that is a reduction in variance. If you're playing for this, there are two outcomes. You go there and you get out for a winner, or you get stopped out. If you're playing for the big move, let's take out the entire range. If you're playing for that, well, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. You get into here. So how has scalping changed, and what has it changed to now? Now, Alex kind of touched on this, that a lot of scalping early on, well, I say early on in my perspective at least, was effectively just finding simple tricks. Markets have become more and more efficient. Now, those simple tricks were just basic front running a large order. If you've tried front running large orders, you see lots of them in the S&P at the moment, these sort of 200, 300 lots around. A lot of them, you're not getting a consistent front run of them. So you then had to sort of adapt different tricks. But back in the day, if you will, Q position was a big thing. Traders would get in early in the morning to get to the front of Qs to nick one tick on a scalp. That game is disappearing as well. And we can all moan about it, and we can blame market makers and algos and all of the rest of it. But at the end of the day, this is natural evolution. Anything that makes money will eventually get crowded. As soon as someone realizes that, oh, you can do this and make money, someone else is going to pick up on it. Don't ever think that you are unique in something you've spotted. Just make the most of it whilst it's there and accept that it's going to change over time. And this is what happens. So that idea of just nicking ticks becomes an algo game because they're quicker at it. They can hedge as well at the same time. So they can nick the ticks that, I was doing when I first started off, nicking 1, 2 ticks or over and over, which means you adapt. Things change. Now, one of the big advantages that we've now got is market prices. Now, I'll come on to that in just a moment. But for me, whenever I explain scalping to anybody, I explain it more from the perspective of what I call a point-to-point trade. So this is not about nicking a tick here, watching a little patch of order flow. You need to understand order flow, but you're more moving from one area to the next. You're moving in zones, in little pockets. That's what you're interested in. Now, these have become far more profitable. And I hate just saying, oh, these things are profitable as if, there's some magical profitable things. But the reason that these types of ideas have become more profitable is that ranges have widened. For example, the S&P, when I started, was trading sub 1,000. So a 1% move in the S&P was 10 big ticks. The S&P now will move 10 big ticks, 10 handles for fun on a 5-minute candle. That could be a whole day when I first started. So what this suggests is that now you take a quick point-to-point scalp, you can take 5 big ticks in the S&P very, very quickly, which means now you have multiple opportunities to recycle that idea, to play that game again. This is particularly prevalent in equity markets, which have obviously risen even since COVID. We're up significantly. If you go back 15 years, we're 10x higher in the S&P and NASDAQ to where we were. I remember seeing the S&P trade 666. Precisely, the S&P moves 40 to 60 handles. 60 handles at the lows in 2009 was nearly a 10% move. You almost never saw it. So these things have changed. So what we're looking at then is short-term reversals. We're looking at the areas where markets are making decisions. So I'm going to give you an example of each. We're going to look at one in oil, and we're going to go and look at one in the S&P as well, and also understanding when to play these, because scalping is more nuanced now. It's not as simple as just watching the flow. It's about understanding when should you be doing this, but also having a bias. People are often afraid of having a bias. For me, you need a bias. You need to be able to say, this is what I want to do. I want to buy or I want to sell. That's crucial, because if you don't have that, you're never going to commit to a trade. So let's go and have a little look at point-to-point reversals. Now, what I'm looking at here is the way a reversal is actually constructed, the mechanics of a reversal. Now, I've kind of laid it out there in the sense that you make a low, you have a quick bounce, there's then a retake of a previous low, there's an element of consolidation as you find new buyers. Yeah, there's a whole string of action that happens to create a full reversal. But what we're looking at is a situation where you already have a bias. So you're already, in this instance, looking for a buy. And what you're trying to do is capture part of that initial move. So what I'm interested in then is not trying to capture the low and trying to play this huge swing all the way up here throughout the day. I'm not interested in that. As a scalp trade, I'm interested in what happens here that enables me to play this. There's your point to point, the move down here back to the previous lows. That's all I'm interested in. The reason that I'm interested in that is a reduction in variance. If you're playing for this, there are two outcomes. You go there and you get out for a winner, or you get stopped out. If you're playing for the big move, let's take out the entire range. If you're playing for that, well, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. You get into here. This may not be a reversal. It may be a pullback and a continuation lower. So I'm not interested in that. From a scalper's perspective, I'm interested in what I call the meat of the move, the bit of the move that you can say, yes, this bit, I know that we're going to move from here to here. Crucial in doing this and key to being a good scalper is not then hoping for more, thinking, oh, I'm on side, maybe I'll stay in this one. The name of the game is banking these. You take that one, you take another trade, another trade, another trade, another trade. That's the bit that we're interested in.